Hey guys, VaulSC here. I'm with Whyrocknodie and we're in Tabletop Simulator and we're going to talk about maps. A lot of you guys have been asking about where you can get certain maps from, how you can get better maps than the ones you're playing on. Obviously, having a lot of really good maps enhances the tabletop experience quite a lot for Tabletop Simulator. And we're going to talk about it. How you going, Tim? I've got you in on a video for once. How are you, my friend?
I'm having a lovely day, thank you.
Lovely. For anybody who doesn't know, Whyrocknodie is a helpful moderator on the Discord and is known as Ming in game. And right now we're in a mod, which I've just created today, which has just a little thing in it called VaulSC map collection. So if you're not going to watch this entire video, here's the main thing I want you to take away. And that is that if you click on the link that's going to be in the video description, you can go to the workshop mod. So basically, I'll just show it to you here on Steam. So I've got Steam tabbed out at the moment. And if I go to the workshop files here, it'll look like this when you're navigating Steam. And it'll be called VaulSC Competitive Infinity Maps Collection. You click on the subscribe button. And then when you're back in Tabletop Simulator, you go up to Games. And it will appear in your workshop category. And then you can simply click on that thumbnail and it will load up this room. And what I want you to do is just to be able to right click on this black chest here. So you right click that and you go down to save object. So you save the object and you give it a name and it's saved from there on. And if you're loaded up in some other room after that, for example, the base infinity mod like this, if I load that up, you can then bring in the map chest. So what will happen is that you'll have this on your screen. I'm just going to minimize my cam a little bit. So you'll come over to stages and you need to click this trash icon to get rid of the stage. And then you simply spawn in your the chest that you save. So go up to objects, go up to saved objects, you drag and drop the map collection. I've got a test version of that right now. And here it is appearing. Hopefully the person in the room isn't from another country and the ping is really high, but if I right click this and I search it, there's all of these wonderful maps here. The version that is available at the time of this video is just the ones that have the brown color at the moment, but the point is we're planning on adding more maps to this and making them available publicly for you to use. So if I just bring one of them in here like this, if I just drag and drop it onto the table, and then if I hold down left click, and remember with the bags, you don't want to quickly left click and move it, otherwise it'll bring things out of the bag. So you just hold left click. I recommend waiting like 3 seconds and then you move it and drop it onto the stage. And theoretically, if you've done everything right, it will load up the map and there it is. Cool. Alrighty, but I've got Whyrocknodie here with me. One thing we are encountering is that apparently Tabletop Simulator saves a cache of assets that it's recorded and remembered for you and your login. We are experiencing a bit of a problem where some newer players are actually trying to load up things in the map, maybe textures or objects, and they're not loading up for them, and that's something we're troubleshooting at the moment. But I've got Whyrocknodie here with me. Do you want to just say a little bit more about that and just sort of explain how that works and how we can sort of troubleshoot that and report it and what we might be best to do about that?
I sure can. So all of the objects that you can see in the Tabletop Simulator room are really just a collection of links that are pointed to the cloud, and all of the assets are stored on the cloud. So if you click on one of these containers, you can see there are a load of fields like model and image, things like that. And what happens is, if the cloud storage is no longer working because someone has removed that asset from their cloud or the link is broken for some other reason, then when Tabletop Simulator tries to fetch the asset for you for your game, it obviously can't find it, and you will either get an error message, or it will, or an error message and a big pop-up that appears in the middle of the screen to tell you to put in a new entry for the missing field. And when that happens, that's why you get things that are missing from your map, or perhaps they appear as just a little white sphere or something like that. And the original creators of that mod, for the reasons that I've all just told you, won't notice that because those objects are in their cache, so they just load normally for them. If you find yourself in a position where a map is not working, then what you need to do is tell the author of the map if you want them to fix it for you, because then they can find the assets that are broken and replace them with different assets, or re-upload a texture or object to the cloud if they were the original creator of that object. It will be very helpful to them if you can tell them exactly what it is that's missing, if you can troubleshoot that bit first, because otherwise finding it might be a long process. That's really all that we can do, though, is kind of finding a working link for those missing objects.
Yeah, and I think that you've pointed out that it's a very solvable problem. Literally, just as we were about to record this video, we were on the Discord in the Infinity Map Bags channel, and we were having somebody who's quite a new player to Infinity recently downloaded TTS and got the Discord, just commenting that they were trying to play a game and some stuff wasn't loading. But the thing is, if you're a player like that and you're trying to do exactly what we've told you, where you've gone and you've downloaded this chest and you've saved it and you loaded up your table and you are finding things that aren't loading, and you do tell us, what we can then do is go to the original map that we have and find the asset that's not working, fix it, resave it, re-upload it to the mod, the workshop, and next time you visit it, you just resave the chest, and things should load up. If I understood that correctly, by the way, would that actually be a solution? Would that work if we do it that way?
Yeah, I mean, you can just fix your own mod as well entirely. So like when you get that error message, when that error message comes up, if you know what you want it to point at, you can just fill in the details there and then. Similarly, I believe you can still interact with the white blob that's on your map. If you right-click it, you should be able to get all of the details up, so you could just link it to the right asset. The chances are, though, if you didn't create the map, you're not going to know what it is that it should be pointed at. So
yeah, although a comment about that is that if you're watching my stream or YouTube channel and you've seen me play on the map, and then you go and try and locate that map from my mod, and you find that the white container that you saw on the map that you wanted to play on isn't loading for you, well, you probably have an idea of what you were looking to find. But again, if you're somebody who hasn't sort of found it that way and you're loading it blindly, then absolutely right, you'll have no idea.
It's really helpful if you're asking someone to fix it for you, that you tell them exactly what's missing as well. Can't emphasize that enough.
Yeah. Now, another thing I should sort of say is that up until now, we have been using the Infinity Map Bags channel as a way of sharing maps, and if you go and you scroll up a long way, you'll see people have actually shared an object which you can download onto your hard drive, and I do encourage people to still continue using that if they want to. There's nothing wrong with that system. If we click on pinned messages, we still have the classic comment back from the day where it explains where in your hard drive to save them and extract them and import them, so you'll still be able to use that. We have had a friend of ours mention that was it GitHub might be a way for people to communally share maps on a website. I want to take the time to explain what the difference between doing that and what we're doing right now is. So the point of me sharing a workshop with my case here is that I can actually share maps with you that I've played and tested and made myself and checked that will be good maps for Infinity games. A community obviously will have a lot of maps. You'll have some very good maps there, some very well-designed maps, but also some maps that are not very well-designed and are more aesthetic or just experimental. You may load them up and find that the sight lanes are too long, or there's not enough terrain here and there, and you don't have a good time with that. But the main point that I want to make is that we want to make both of these kinds of things available. So if you really want to have a good competitive game and you don't want to be let down and you want something that you can rely on, then you could download my mod, for example. But if you want to try something new, if you want a big variety of map experiences, you might be able to go into a shared GitHub that we create for you, or look through the Map Bags channel, or obviously make your own map. You had something to say about GitHub earlier. Did you want to add any further comments about the about what would happen if we do start using GitHub a lot more?
Yes, I think as a community resource, I think it would be really useful. Would have lots and lots of people contributing all of their maps and sharing them, and then word could get around that certain maps are very good, and then could be reviewed to go into a tested mod like this one, which is very easy to download for everybody. So that would be an immensely useful thing for GitHub to be able to do. I believe there is a slight concern that GitHub is not as user-friendly as it could be, which is another good reason to use the Steam Workshop.
Right.
There is a chap who's Digit, I think he's called,
Yeah,
D1J1T,
that's our
who
friend
is
there in
looking
Discord.
at using GitHub as a repository. Hopefully he will have some fascinating advice for using GitHub. That would be great. But yeah, I hope that it does become a widely used shared.
Sorry, I've lost you. I momentarily started loading a table, and because of the loading, the ping has sort of clipped you out. Can you still hear me?
I can indeed
You're
still hear
back.
you,
Yeah,
yes.
sorry. I've just loaded up your lovely alien table here, which looks really cool, by the way. And a lot of these assets I don't even have, so they have loaded up correctly for me. I think the whole fun of this exercise is that people love to play on new tables, and they love to have different sort of positional and spatial experiences with Infinity. And this platform, this format, it does get a little bit old if you're playing on the same maps over and over and over again, which is why a resource like this will be really useful. So I think there'll be my curated version, my mod, for people that want to go straight for a map, which is going to just allow them to focus on the mechanics and what's good about Infinity. But also, I think it's a really good idea to have a GitHub or a map channel in Discord continuing like that, for the sake of all these weird and wonderful wacky creations. And don't forget that the ones that look interesting but don't play very well can be modified. So as always, and one thing I'm doing is just going through and sort of unlocking things and moving things around and experimenting a little bit with what can be improved, if anything. Hey, are all of these bits and pieces just from various workshops and stolen from places, or are some of them custom? How did you get hold
That's
of
right.
this
I
one?
mean, some of the I added a couple of textures to this, but mostly they're just taken from various places on the
Mm,
workshop. A
I
couple of these
recognize a lot of
buildings
it
that you
now.
can see on here are made by Bishop Wraith.
Yeah, I
But
recognize this
yeah,
building
it's
here.
pilfered from all over the place. This is a map before we started, before Azrael showed us the wonders of the grid. So it would need to be toggled to have grid showing on the various platforms you can see.
Yeah.
I think the only things I really created for this would be the textures of the hex stuff on the platforms.
Right.
I think everything else is off the workshop somewhere.
Actually, you've just reminded me of something. One thing you taught me recently, which I would like to actually pass on to people right now, is that when you do spawn a new map into the area, and by the way, great job on the new battle mats bag. I'm seeing a lot of new textures in there which weren't there before, and the classic one, which are looking really cool.
Yeah, Azrael has just put a load of new stuff in there.
Looks
Azrael is
great.
constantly adding more stuff to the mod. He's been inspired to create more things.
It's
It's great.
funny. It's funny how
He's added tons of
suddenly,
stuff.
like, the procession and the ceremony of giving something up makes you fall in love with it again, and then you're just straight back to it. Like, he was gonna give everything up, and now he's just, the passion's returned.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it helps that there's a new version of Infinity coming out. So obviously that's
Mm.
rekindled some interest. But yes, he's really been pouring loads of effort into it. That's why you see all these improvements, quality of life improvements, little tweaks here and there, and all these new maps are part of it. Yeah.
So just a quick tip for people who are starting out to make their first map. Obviously, you'd go over to the battle mats bag and you'd right click it, search it, look at the text you want, and drag it over. What I do first is I hover over it and I just hit L for lock, and then I change the state to the. Oh, does this one even have a state below it?
No, they don't. We don't bother with it anymore
Oh, okay, no,
because
no, fair enough.
the grid have the
Because
grid.
we've got the
So
grid. So what you can do as well is you can just have a look at the position as well. And one thing that helps is if you change the position for the x-axis to be on 0, so 0.00, and the z-axis to be 0.00. Is it the y-axis? Is it 0.96 or 94, or does it really matter?
well, really, it doesn't matter very much. I
No.
think 0.96 is the standard resting place for the mat model on the table. But really, if it just drops naturally to whatever resting height that the mat would lie at. So because it's possible that you might be using a custom mat, for example, that doesn't rest exactly the same height as this one. I think all of the ones in the box are probably at 0.96, but the important thing is to be at 0.0 in the other two.
Yeah, because then it actually overhangs the playing area correctly, and it doesn't interfere with your order counters, and it's easy to bag up. Is that correct?
That's right, and it's also perfectly aligned with the grid.
Excellent. Yeah, for people who haven't watched the tutorial video by Azrael, quite interestingly, I put out a how to play Infinity on Tabletop Simulator recently, which has been a very popular video, but that's just by me. Azrael, the creator of this thing, put out another one where he does demonstrate some more advanced features, which I totally recommend you watch. But I'll just demonstrate right now that if you go up to Options and then left click on Grid, and you can actually choose to show the lines, for example, the grid appears, and this is very helpful for snapping. For example, if I change snapping to lines, when you're adding an objective, it will just snap it to the point you need it to be at, and this is good for measuring deployment zones and so on. You can change a lot of things about the grid, very useful for setting up your game and your map. So map creators can bear that in mind. Did you have any other useful tips about the maps? Grid?
I was going to mention it's also worth pointing out the videos you just mentioned are both actually in the mod at the moment in a bag on the terrain table.
Yes, over here in this black one. So right click, how to play videos. You can actually load them up in here, although it's very weird seeing my video like inside of Tabletop Simulator, but whatever. If you can't be bothered going and looking up on YouTube, that's where to grab them. And I assume there's something you can click on which actually just loads it up in a browser. Is there a way to do that?
Yeah, you can. If you look at the browser details, you can see.
You can just copy paste it and just put it into your browser that way. That's easy. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Easy. Okay. All right. Well, that's about all I wanted to cover. Is there anything that you felt would be useful to add at this point?
Yes, there's something extremely useful that I could add at this point, but I'd prefer to keep it a secret to keep everyone in
Okay, well, the next league round is coming out tomorrow. I've got a lovely map ready for that, so I'm going to be adding that to the mod and obviously publishing it for the league players to play. Once again, you need to subscribe to the workshop mod, obviously, and that will allow you to right-click save this chest. I will continue to update it, so if you start to see me playing on new maps, you can go back to that mod, re-download and re-save that chest, and then bring it into your games. Oh, almost forgot. Another thing you can do when you're in a game like this, like let's say you've actually just cleared the table. How do I get rid of it? I just need to right-click and delete it. One thing you can do is you can open up games, and then you can go to the workshop mod here and click on the three dots and click on expand, and that will actually show you the chest here, which you can actually just then drag into your game without even having to load up the workshop mod, and then you simply right click, search it. You've got the bags, you can drag them into the stage area and load up the maps that way. It's like magic.
I can actually tell you why you weren't able to clear that map, by the way.
Why is that?
That is because you were trying to clear it by using the trash can on the stage.
Yes.
And what that actually does is remove anything that you've previously loaded.
Oh, okay. So if you just bring in an asset from scratch, like you just bring on this prone marker, the trash can's not going to get rid of that, for example. So in the same way,
it hasn't recorded storing it on the board.
Got it.
Although you can back it up, however, but you can't use the trash can.
Got it. Okay. Oh, I keep remembering things that I wanted to say. One thing that I did in the process of making these maps bagged is I deleted the classified decks from the table every time, and that's apparently because there's a duplicated object issue which sometimes arises when you then try and actually load the bag up. Can you just talk us through that one real quick? Because I know that you're the one who recommended that.
That won't happen anymore. Because these classified decks have been added to an ignore me list for the table.
Oh, okay.
When that happens, that has been happening occasionally. It's when we're adding new assets, sometimes we miss the user ID for the thing, and if I don't update the list of ignored objects for the stage, then it will add that when you save your map bag. And then it will try and add it back in when you load it into a fresh table, and because there is already exactly the same asset with the same user ID on the table, it will come up with an error. So that's what's happening there.
Right.
So that's a mistake that I've made, because I haven't put I haven't updated the list of things to ignore when it's packing bags. At the moment, everything on this table is fine.
Got it.
If
When I
something
was
is broken,
creating my
that's what's-
tables, I was having to load up some very, very old version of the Tabletop Simulator mods, so I thought I'd better do that just in case. But I see what you've done now. That makes a lot more sense, how it has the ignore feature. So hopefully things will get a bit more streamlined, and we're getting better at troubleshooting these things. Can you think of anything else that we need to put into the map video?
Only that super secret thing.
Super secret thing. Okay, well, keep it to yourself, all right? We don't want to know
Yeah,
if it's
I
secret.
will.
Otherwise, it wouldn't be a secret. Okay?
Exactly.
All right. Look out for more videos in the TTS League and maps, and obviously post your questions in the Discord in the Infinity Map Bags channel, and we'll try and get to them. And thanks for watching.